Welcome back to Everything Ag, where we talk about everything ag. I'm Bree, and today we're going to be talking about an FFA competition that's very near and dear to my heart: prepared public speaking. So, your advisor told you that you're going to compete in prepared public speaking this year, and you don't have a clue what you're going to do. I've been in that boat before, and today I'm going to try and use some of the knowledge I've gained over the past 2 years to try and help you write your very own speech for prepared public speaking. So before I waste too much time, let's go ahead and get into this. So first, let's go over the rubric and the rules for this competition, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff about it. So this here is the Alabama FFA rubric for prepared public speaking. It's the rules and regulations for the contest. This is practically the same for every state. I just use the Alabama FFA one because that's the state that I'm from. So up here, it just goes over some stuff about the style of the competition. I'm not going to read through this right now, but I would advise you to read through everything that you can find about it to give you the best chance when you go into the competition. Okay, so first up here is about AI use. So the National FFA does permit you to use AI in your speech to some degree. I've done this contest for 2 years. One of those years I used a speech that AI helped on. The second year I didn't. Now, for me personally, I thought it was easier to memorize when I wrote the whole speech by myself. But other people, they say that it's easy when AI can help you get more of your websites faster so you have more time to try and memorize something you didn't write yourself. But it's everybody's different style. For me personally, I just like to write it myself. So now for the written part of your speech. Your speech must be typed on regular paper in APA style format. If you don't know how to use APA to cite your sources or to format your paper, just go to Google, type in how to use APA format. It'll pull up some videos and stuff for you to watch. Then once you've done that, you want to go to a new tab to do your APA citations. I do not like doing them by hand because they take forever. So I use a website. My personal favorite is MyBib. It's normally like the third option that comes up whenever you type in APA citation thingy, whatever it's called. But I normally just search for MyBib. I think it's the best. It lays it out all into one big sheet that you can copy out, and I think it runs the smoothest, but that's just me. Right here is what sets you up for how your entire speech is going to go. It's the most important step: choosing your topic. So they do give a very wide range of topics that you can go through. They all just need to have something to do with agriculture. Who would have thought? We're an FFA. It has to do something with ag. Both my speeches were about farmers struggling and simple ways to help them. Even though both my speeches were technically about the same thing, they were vastly different. Like, I cannot tell you any similarities pretty much between my speeches. Oh, my background's turning off. So rude. I know I'm cheating. I'm reading a script. A lot of people that I've met for this competition, they go with animals instead of like a thing agriculture and like politics or something like that, which you could say that my topics went into, but that's a story for another day. A lot of people, they just pick a farm animal. So let's say you pick a cow, then you pick, do you want the meat or the dairy? So a lot of people, they'll end up picking the dairy. So then they go something good and something bad about it. The dairy industry is majority family farms, which helps keep the animals healthier, gives more money to generational farmers, and then also they'll do like a con to it. It's like problems within the beef industry and harvesting cows, all those different types of issues. You could dive so deep into that big rabbit hole. But a lot of people, they'll do the speeches on that. I've met a lot of people since I'm from Alabama. We are like the largest chicken producer, poultry producer in the nation. So a lot of people, they'll do it about chickens, especially people from up north. I'm from way down south, so we don't have those big chicken farms. People I've met from the north part of the state, they'll do it where they do about chicken farms, all that kinds of stuff, and they can relate it to the area that they're from. Okay, so we're going to come back to topics in just a minute, but we're going to finish the rules out first. Okay, next up is time. I'm going to put the time limit section up here so you can read along with me, but we're going to break this down sentence by sentence, just like you did in elementary school when you were going through different paragraphs. Okay, each speech shall be a minimum of 6 minutes in length and a maximum of 8 minutes. This section is pretty much self-explanatory. When you give your speech verbally, you need to be between 6 minutes and 8 minutes. I hope you understand that. I don't know how much simpler I can make it. Next sentence. Each participant will be allowed 5 minutes in additional time in which he or she can be asked questions relating to his or her speech by the judges. Okay, this one is where I would say probably one of the more complicated parts of the competition. This is where the judges, usually 4, I've seen there's been 3 before, but most of the time it's 4, and they each ask one question to give you a little bit of time to like talk about whatever. They'll ask you anything about your topic. They'll ask you like how you found this answer, what studies you read, why'd you pick this topic. That's a big one. I would say that they pretty much always ask, why did you pick this topic? So if you're trying to rehearse, generally what I do, I give my speech to ChatGPT and say, give me 4 random questions about this speech for when I do an FFA, Prepare Public Speaking Contest. Generally, it can figure it out and give you some, but I would say if you're going to practice without doing all that, know why you picked it. Know why you picked your topic so that you can go in like, I know why I chose this. Hopefully, you had an idea before you were thinking about questions of why you did it, but just know why you picked it. 99% of the time, they're going to ask that. Okay, next. Participants are to be penalized 1 point per second on each judge's score sheet for being under 6 minutes or over 8 minutes. So when you give your speech, you're aiming for the sweet spot, I would say between 6:30 and 7:30 for your time. Just to make sure you have a 30-second gap either way, just to keep you safe. In case you go too slow, go too fast. Usually, since it says there should be 2 to 5 judges, like you can just do the math real quick. Like if you're 5 seconds under and there's 5 judges, it's 25 points you're getting taken off automatically just because you're either 5 seconds over, 5 seconds under. 5 seconds under. Cannot talk today. Okay. Next. No time warnings will be given. This just alerts you that during the competition you'll have a timekeeper in the room that they will just stop watch thingy on their phone and write down your time. They're not going to show you. You cannot see the time. I've met some people that they bring a watch in so they can see. I don't know, like, if you actually do that or something. I've never done that. I just, like, generally, after you practice for, like, a couple weeks, you can figure out how long it takes. So I just go off of that. I've never actually, like, had something to look at. But yeah, that just says that you will not be able to see your time at all, and they will not verbally tell you what time you're at. So that is all for the timing stuff, which is pretty important. But that's all for that. That section's pretty short. So the rest of this document talks about specific scoring. This is mainly for the judges. I would still read through it. I'm not going to do it today just because I got other things to talk about. I'm kidding. But I would highly recommend to read through all of this to make sure you know everything about this competition before you go in on competition day. Okay, so now let's really dive in on how to write your speech. So like I said before, I've done 2 speeches. I've done this competition for 2 years straight. And they were pretty different, but they were also kind of the same. So one of the main differences is how they were written. One was written as a speech, and one was written to win the competition, which, when I say that, people don't really get it at first, but when you think of speech, you think of somebody talking on their feet, kind of like this, when I'm not quite looking at my script, but I also am at the same time. But to win the competition, it has to meet these certain criteria. This is pretty hard for a lot of people to grasp, especially if you've, like me, written speeches or spoken in front of a bunch of people before. It's hard to switch gears instead of going from being a speaker to winning competition. For me, it was really hard to switch from one to the other. The thing that helped me to switch eventually was think of it as an essay you're writing for your English class. Like, you have to have this many sources. You have to show your sources. You have to put it in quotations in your essay, everything like that. Essay mode is the easiest way to write a speech for this contest. Do not think of it as a speech until you have written the whole thing and you're practicing. That's when you need to bring speech aspects into it. And then after you've written your speech, you're just memorizing. That is really hard, but after you do it for at least 1 year, if you have to memorize, like if you forgot the creed and you got to memorize it again at the beginning of the school year, it's so easy after you learn to memorize a 7-minute speech. So now that you know the style of speech that you're trying to write in, now you have to do the actual writing, which does not take as long as you might think. So I always do my writing in a 4 main source style, where I get 4 sources completely done before I start writing the rest of my paragraph or the rest of my speech. That's so if I, like, in the 3 source style that most people do, a lot of times you can be way under time and then you have to scramble to get another source. So I always do more work in the beginning and you just delete it at the end if you're over time with the 4 sources. Next up is I always try to get my overview paragraph out of the way as soon as I can after I get my sources done. This is so in the beginning of your speech, you can get what your speech is about done in the first 2 minutes of being in the room. Your next step is create a transition from educating people about a topic to actually solving the problem that you were educating about them. For me, like I said before, when I write these speeches, I want to do more work in the beginning and just delete some of it. So I generally write 2 different transition paragraphs, give them to a bunch of different people, and take the feedback on that, and then pick which paragraph I'm going to go with. So this next part is going to be pretty much the rest of the second half of your speech. It's just sources and solving the problem and getting your opinion out there and then backing your opinion up by quality sources that you and everyone who's going to read this speech or hear this speech can trust. All right, the last thing that you need to do is do your intro and your outro for your speech. For me personally, I like to create a visual with a fictional story. So I would start with like a poem, or my last speech I did. I started and ended it with something that had to do with a farmer in his everyday life, and then when I ended it, I quoted Paul Harvey from the speech, "So God Made a Farmer." So, and it tied in with my whole speech. It was what my speech was about. I started out describing how a farmer worked all day and all night on the same farm that he, his dad, and his grandpa have all farmed on. And that, because that's the type of farming that we see in the US. So it creates something that everyone that will be judging your speech has heard of before. It just creates a good story, good visual, so that they're already right out of the gate interested in your topic. And then at the end, I kind of repeated my intro, tweaked it a little bit, and then threw in the quotes from "So God Made a Farmer." And that, for the judges, pretty much all the judges, if you do Paul Harvey, 1, they're going to know it, and 2, they're going to love it, especially if the demographic of your judge panel is in the slightly older range. They're going to love it. Another way that you could do your intro and outro is do a personal story. Do like a personal story that tugs at the heartstrings of the judges so that they're into your speech as soon as you start. And that's the main point of an intro, is to get them invested as soon as you start. And then outro, sum up everything, make sure that they understood your main points, and then finish out with a story so like they wake up right at the end, like if they're falling asleep during your speech, at the end when they hear something that they enjoy, pay more attention to it, and it'll leave you on a better note at the end. And for your title, the title's going to come naturally. Do not stress about the title. Like when I was writing my speech for this past year, when I started out with my sources and doing my paragraphs, I didn't have my title until 3 days into writing my speech. But when I got the title, I knew that was the title. When you figure out what it's going to be, you're going to know. Like, the title of my speech was The American Farmer. It can be something so simple like that. The title of my speech from 2 years ago was The Underrated and Underappreciated Backbone of Our Society, Farmers. Very long title, but when people hear it, they automatically know what your speech is about. Same thing with a short title. As long as they know what it's about, and biggest thing, I think, if the title means something to you, then it's good. Like, if you know that is your title, it's a good title. Alright, everyone, thanks for watching. I hope I was able to kind of guide you in the right direction for writing your speech for this upcoming year. Remember, if you need help, your advisor is always the best person to go to for advice. Even if your advisor is a grumpy old man, he's going to give you good advice. Another person that I would say reach out to, your English teacher or English teachers you've had in the past couple years. Especially for the grammatical stuff, because at least for me, sometimes your ag teachers, they don't always catch it because they're looking at the content. But an English teacher, they're going to look at the content some, but they're really going to be looking for those grammar issues that I know you will have in there. And then also, if you have like a prepared, or not even a prepared, just a public speaking class at your school, talk to that teacher. Even if you don't know that teacher, tell them what you're doing, and I would almost guarantee they'd be willing to help you. If you need any other help with it, you can also reach out to me. You can email me here at this email right here, or you can DM me on Instagram right here, and I would be more than willing to help you. If anything, you message me, call me, whatever. I would love to help you with your speech, because as I said before, I love this competition. I've done this competition for 2 years. It's one of the greatest things I've ever done. Don't forget to subscribe to Everything Ag. We are on the road to 100. We are 21 subscribers out of 100, trying to get to 100 before the end of 2027. So press that little red button down there, make it turn gray, and help me out some. Or gray or white. I don't know what color it actually turns. I have no clue, but make it turn a different color. So subscribe below, like this video, send it to somebody that they might be thinking about doing a speech competition, especially prepared public speaking. Show them the video. If I can help anybody with this video, that would be a dream come true to me. So, not gonna waste any more of y'all's time. So that is all for me. I will see y'all later.